The night sky burned crimson as alien vessels descended through Earth's atmosphere. Commander Aria Voss watched through her tactical visor as the ships broke through the cloud cover, their hulls gleaming with an otherworldly metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Her Special Forces Unit, the 87th Orbital Defense Squadron, crouched in formation behind the remains of what had once been Denver's financial district. Command confirms this is the 7th landing zone in the last hour, her second-in-command whispered through the comm. Same pattern as Beijing and London. Aria's jaw tightened. 3 weeks into the invasion, and humanity was losing. Badly. The aliens, a species humans had taken to calling the Vex, possessed technology centuries beyond Earth's most advanced weaponry. Their energy shields rendered conventional artillery useless, and their plasma weapons cut through armored vehicles like they were made of paper. "We hold position until the civilians clear the evacuation zone," Aria said, her voice steady despite the fear coiling in her stomach. "Then we fall back to Point Echo." The plan was simple. Delay, distract, survive. No one harbored illusions of victory anymore. The first Vex warriors emerged from their landing craft, tall, insectoid beings with 4 arms and exoskeletons that seemed to function as both armor and weapon. Their movements were precise, almost mechanical, as they deployed in perfect formation. "Steady," Aria whispered, raising her hand. The 34 soldiers under her command readied their experimental pulse rifles, humanity's latest attempt to penetrate Vex defenses. "Wait for my mark." The lead Vex warrior raised its upper limbs, and strange devices unfolded from its exoskeleton. Aria had seen this before. They were scanning for human life signs. "Now!" The night erupted in blue-white flashes as pulse rifles fired in unison. The experimental weapons had been designed to fluctuate their energy signatures, briefly confusing the alien shields. 2 Vex warriors fell, their chitinous armor cracking under the barrage. But the victory was short-lived. The aliens adapted almost instantly, their shields shifting frequency to compensate. Return fire came in waves of searing green energy that vaporized concrete and flesh alike. "Fall back!" Aria shouted as 3 of her soldiers disappeared in flashes of green light. "Defensive pattern Delta!" The unit retreated in practiced movements, laying covering fire as they withdrew deeper into the ruins. Aria's mind raced through tactical options, each more desperate than the last. They needed to buy time for the civilian transports to clear the area, but at this rate, none of her people would survive the next 10 minutes. A massive explosion rocked the ground as a Vex energy cannon obliterated the building to their right. Debris rained down, and Aria was thrown sideways into a partially collapsed subway entrance. She tumbled down broken stairs, her armor absorbing most of the impact before she came to rest in the darkness below. Pain lanced through her side. A broken rib, probably. Her helmet display flickered, then stabilized, showing multiple system warnings. Above, the sounds of battle intensified, punctuated by the screams of her dying soldiers. "Squadron, report!" she called into her comm. Static answered. Either the signal couldn't penetrate the rubble, or there was no one left to respond. Aria forced herself to her feet, using her rifle as support. Her tactical light activated automatically, illuminating the subway tunnel. She needed to get back to the surface, to her people. The light caught something reflective ahead, an unusual shimmer in the dust-filled air. Curiosity overrode caution, and Aria moved forward, each step sending fresh waves of pain through her body. What she found made no sense. A small chamber had been uncovered by the building's collapse. Ancient stonework, completely at odds with the modern subway construction. At its center sat a pedestal, and upon it, a circlet of metal unlike any material Aria had ever seen. It seemed to shift between gold, silver, and something else entirely, as her light played across its surface. Intricate patterns were etched into its band, symbols that reminded her of both circuit boards and ancient hieroglyphics. A crash from above reminded her of the desperate situation. Her soldiers were dying. Humanity was losing its last stand. This archaeological curiosity would have to wait. As she turned to leave, the circlet pulsed with a soft blue light. Aria froze. The light pulsed again, stronger this time, as if responding to her presence. Against all tactical training and common sense, Aria approached the pedestal. The circlet's glow intensified, and she felt a strange resonance, like a vibration in her very bones. Without conscious thought, her hand reached out. The moment her fingers touched the metal, energy surged through her body. Aria gasped as knowledge and power flooded her consciousness. Ancient memories, not her own. A connection to something vast and slumbering within humanity's collective unconscious. The circlet rose of its own accord and settled on her head, its metal reshaping to fit perfectly against her skull. Power, unlike anything she had ever known, coursed through her veins. Her vision sharpened, colors intensifying until she could see spectrums beyond normal human perception. The pain of her injuries vanished as her body healed itself in seconds. Above, the battle continued. But now Aria could sense every combatant, the alien minds like cold, precise machinery, and the desperate, fierce human consciousness of her remaining soldiers. 7 still alive, but not for long. Aria moved with newfound speed and grace, ascending the collapsed stairwell in a single bound. When she emerged onto the battlefield, the scene was apocalyptic. Buildings burned around the remains of her squadron, who had formed a last defensive circle. Dozens of Vex warriors advanced on their position, weapons charging for a final assault. One of her soldiers spotted her and shouted in disbelief. The Vex turned, their sensory apparatus focusing on the new threat. Aria felt the crown's power surging through her. She raised her hand instinctively, and a wave of pure force erupted from her palm, sending the nearest aliens flying backward. Their shields, impervious to humanity's most advanced weapons, shattered like glass. The remaining Vex concentrated their fire on her. Green energy bolts streaked toward Aria, but instead of dodging, she stood her ground. The crown glowed brightly, and the energy dissipated harmlessly around her. "Commander?" one of her soldiers called, voice thick with disbelief. "Get the wounded and fall back to the evacuation zone," Aria commanded, her voice resonating with newfound authority. "I'll cover you." As her soldiers retreated with their injured comrades, Aria advanced on the alien force. The crown showed her how to channel its power, drawing not just from her own life force, but from something deeper, the collective potential of humanity itself. Energy crackled around her hands as she tore through the Vex ranks, their advanced technology no match for the ancient power she now wielded. Within minutes, the battlefield fell silent. Alien bodies lay scattered among the ruins, their technology sparking and failing. Aria stood amid the destruction, her eyes glowing with the same blue light as the crown, her breath steady despite the impossible feat she had just accomplished. 3 months later, Aria stood at the entrance of the underground bunker that had become humanity's primary resistance headquarters. Once a military installation buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, it now housed the remains of Earth's unified command structure and the scientists desperately working to understand the alien invaders and the mysterious crown that had changed everything. Dr. Marcus Chen approached, his tired eyes brightening at the sight of her. "The tests are complete," he said without preamble. "The crown's composition defies analysis, but we've confirmed it's responding to your specific genetic markers." Aria nodded, having sensed as much through her growing connection to the artifact. And the translations from the chamber where I found it? Partial at best, Marcus admitted. But we've confirmed it's at least 15,000 years old, predating any known human civilization. The symbols reference something called the Awakening, apparently a latent potential within human DNA that the crown can activate. It's more than that, Aria said quietly. When I use it, I can feel everyone, all of humanity, connected somehow. Like we've always had this power inside us, dormant, waiting. Marcus's expression grew serious. General Frost wants a demonstration for the Joint Chiefs. The Vex have consolidated their hold on major population centers, and we're running out of options. Your victories have been impressive, but isolated. Aria suppressed a grimace. General Helena Frost had made no secret of her skepticism regarding Aria's newfound abilities. Despite the video evidence and eyewitness accounts, the older woman saw the crown as a potential weapon to be studied, replicated, and controlled, not understanding that its power was intrinsically linked to something within Aria herself. "Tell her she'll have her demonstration," Aria said. "But first, I need to show you something." She led Marcus deeper into the facility, to a secure room where the remains of a Vex warrior were kept for study. The alien corpse lay on an examination table, its exoskeleton partially dissected by the research team. "I've been having dreams," Aria explained, approaching the alien remains. "Or visions, maybe. The crown is showing me things about the Vex, why they're here, what they want." She placed her hand on the alien's carapace, and the crown activated, its soft glow illuminating the sterile room. Images flowed from her mind to Marcus's. A vast interstellar empire spanning galaxies, a civilization millions of years old that had evolved beyond biological constraints into something between machine and insect. "They've done this before," Aria whispered as the vision continued. "Hundreds of worlds, thousands of species. They hunt down and eliminate any species with the potential for psychic evolution, what they call the ascendant threat. They detected something in humanity that frightened them enough to launch a full-scale invasion." Marcus staggered back as the vision ended, his face pale. "Us? They're afraid of us?" "Of what we could become," Aria corrected. "The crown is just a key, Marcus. It's unlocking something that's been inside humanity all along, something the Vex have been systematically eliminating across the galaxy for millennia." General Frost's demonstration came sooner than expected. 3 days later, Vex forces launched a coordinated attack on the mountain facility, somehow having discovered the Resistance headquarters. Evacuation alarms blared throughout the complex as personnel rushed to escape pods and emergency transports. In the command center, General Frost barked orders as tactical displays showed the approaching alien forces. Over 50 ships, the largest concentration seen since the initial invasion. "We've got 15 minutes before they breach our outer defenses," she announced grimly. "Evacuation protocol Alpha is in effect. All non-essential personnel to transports immediately." Aria entered the command center, the crown glowing softly on her brow. She had modified her tactical armor to integrate with the ancient artifact, creating a hybrid of modern technology and supernatural power. "General," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos, "I can stop them." Frost turned, her weathered face skeptical. "One person against their largest attack force yet? I've seen the reports of your abilities, Commander, but this is beyond even your miracle crown." "Not alone," Aria replied. "I need your best soldiers, volunteers only. I can extend the crown's protection to a small strike force." For a moment, Frost hesitated, decades of military experience warring with the desperate reality of their situation. Finally, she nodded. What's your plan? We take the fight to them. Their mothership is coordinating the attack. We destroy it, and their forces will be thrown into disarray. A suicide mission, Frost observed. Aria's eyes glowed faintly. Only if we fail. Within minutes, Aria stood before 24 elite soldiers in the main hangar. These were the best of what remained of Earth's military forces. Veterans of the initial invasion who had somehow survived against impossible odds. I won't lie to you, she told them. What I'm asking is beyond dangerous. But what I can offer you is a chance. Not just to die for humanity, but to fight with a power the Vex have never encountered from us before. She extended her hands, and the crown's energy flowed outward, connecting with each soldier in turn. They gasped as a fraction of Aria's power transferred to them. Enhanced strength, speed, and a telepathic link that would allow them to function as a single, coordinated unit. My God, one veteran whispered, staring at his hands as energy crackled between his fingers. This is what they fear, Aria said. This is why they came to destroy us before we discovered it ourselves. Today, we show them they were right to be afraid. The assault on the Vex mothership became the stuff of legend. Aria's strike force moved with supernatural coordination, each soldier instinctively knowing the other's positions and intentions. Their enhanced abilities allowed them to penetrate the alien vessel's defenses, fighting their way through corridors designed for beings not of this world. Casualties mounted despite their advantages. The Vex adapted quickly, bringing specialized weapons to bear against the human intruders. By the time they reached the central control chamber, only 7 of the original 24 remained, including Aria. The ship's commander awaited them, a Vex unlike any they had encountered before. Larger, more heavily armored, with 6 limbs instead of 4, and a cranial structure that pulsed with energy. Kalmek, Aria knew somehow, the name coming to her through the crown's mysterious knowledge. Human, the alien spoke, its voice a synthetic approximation transmitted directly into their minds. You have accessed forbidden technology. The ascendant power is not for lesser species. It was always ours, Aria replied, stepping forward as her remaining soldiers secured the chamber. You just found us before we remembered how to use it. Your kind has been eliminated on 17 worlds across 3 galaxies, Kalmek stated. The pattern repeats. You will not be the exception. The alien commander attacked with devastating speed, energy weapons extending from multiple limbs. 2 more of Aria's soldiers fell before they could react. The others returned fire, their enhanced abilities allowing them to dodge most of the aliens' attacks. Aria reached deeper into the crown's power, drawing not just on her own strength but on the collective potential of humanity. Her consciousness expanded, touching briefly with every human mind on Earth. Billions of souls, each carrying a fragment of the power the Vex so feared. Energy erupted from her in waves, tearing through the alien commander's defenses. Kalmek staggered back, its exoskeleton cracking under the assault. Impossible, the alien transmitted. Your species is not yet evolved for this level of power. You don't understand humanity, Aria said, advancing as the crown's light intensified around her. We don't evolve gradually like other species. We adapt. We change when we need to change. We become what we need to become. With a final surge of power, Aria tore through the alien commander's mental defenses, exposing the truth the Vex had hidden for millennia. That consciousness itself was the ultimate force in the universe. And humanity's unique form of it had the potential to transcend physical limitations in ways the methodical, logical Vex could never achieve. Kalmek fell, its systems overloaded by the psychic assault. Aria turned to the ship's control interface, instinctively understanding its function through her expanded awareness. With the remaining soldiers providing cover, she initiated the mothership's self-destruct sequence and ordered evacuation. The explosion was visible across half the continent, a new star briefly blooming in the evening sky before fading to darkness. In its wake, the Vex invasion force fell into disarray, their coordinated attack dissolving into isolated skirmishes that Earth's defenders, newly emboldened, began to win. As dusk settled over the battlefield in the Rocky Mountains, Aria stood alone amid the wreckage of alien vessels that had crashed following the mothership's destruction. Her tactical armor was torn and scorched, but the crown glowed steadily on her brow, its power having protected her from the worst of the blast. Of her strike force, only she had survived the mothership's destruction. Their sacrifice had bought humanity something precious, hope and time to awaken more of their kind to the power that had always slumbered within. Aria looked up at the darkening sky, where stars were beginning to appear. The crown's connection showed her distant worlds where other species had fallen to the Vex before they could discover their own potential. Earth would not share their fate. Her eyes glowed with supernatural light as she sensed General Frost approaching with a recovery team. The older woman stopped several paces away, taking in the scene of destruction and the transformed commander at its center. "My God, Voss," Frost said quietly. "What have you become?" Aria turned, her expression both weary and transcendent. "What we were always meant to be, General. This is just the beginning." Around her, the scattered remains of alien technology lay like the discarded shells of a defeated empire. Humanity had survived its darkest hour, not through superior firepower or technology, but through the very thing the Vex had feared. The indomitable human spirit awakened at last to its true potential. As night fell completely, Aria's silhouette stood framed against the battlefield, her eyes and crown glowing with the promise of a new dawn for humanity. One where they would no longer be victims of the stars, but take their place among them as something new and powerful, born from the crucible of near extinction. The Vex had come to prevent humanity's awakening. Instead, they had only hastened it.